The day I discovered my parents had stolen my inheritance, I was wearing the fake Cartier bracelet my mother had given me for my 20th birthday. The irony wasn't lost on me. My name is Lily, and I grew up believing I was the luckiest girl in the world. Our mansion in Beverly Hills, the luxury cars, the endless shopping sprees, it all seemed like a fairy tale, until I realized I was paying for everyone else's happily ever after. "Darling, you're being dramatic," my mother Malia said, barely looking up from her phone as I stood in her bedroom doorway, clutching the bank statements I'd found hidden in Father's study. "We're your parents. Everything we do is for your benefit." $3 million, Mom. My trust fund is empty." My voice cracked, but I forced myself to stay steady. "Grandmother left that money for my education and future." She finally looked up, her perfectly manicured eyebrows arching. "Well, your father and I needed to make some investments. The market hasn't been kind lately." "Investments like your new Bentley? Or Charlie's apartment in Manhattan?" "Don't be petty, Lily. Your sister needed a proper place to live while pursuing her acting career." She stood up, smoothing her silk robe. "Besides, you're doing fine at law school with your scholarship." I watched her walk to her vanity, picking up an expensive face cream. The same cream I'd seen her buy 6 times this month alone, with my money. "Where's Dad?" I asked, knowing he'd be easier to crack than her. "At the club. Some business meeting with the Harveys." She waved dismissively. "Don't bother him with this nonsense." I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. "Oh, and darling, wear the blue Chanel to dinner tonight. The Harveys are coming over and Philip's been asking about you." I wanted to scream that I didn't care about Philip Harvey or his wandering eyes. Instead, I smiled sweetly. "Of course, Mother." Back in my room, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The scholarship my mother so casually mentioned. I'd fought tooth and nail for it, knowing they'd burned through my education fund years ago. My part-time job at the law library barely covered my textbooks, while Charlie got to pursue her dreams with my inheritance. A notification popped up on my phone, a message from Mr. Howard, my professor and mentor at law school. "Did you look into those trust fund clauses we discussed?" I typed back, "Yes, it's worse than we thought. Meeting tomorrow?" His reply was instant. "My office, 9 a.m. Bring the documents." A knock at my door made me jump. My father, Brian, stood there, looking uncomfortable in his golf attire. "Your mother says you're upset about something? Did you know grandmother's trust fund is empty?" I asked directly. He shifted, avoiding my eyes. "The market's been volatile, sweetheart. We had to make some tough decisions." "Without consulting me? I'm 20, Dad, not 12. "Look, once these new business deals come through, like the ones with the Harveys," I interrupted. Something flickered across his face. "Fear? Who told you about that?" "Mom mentioned dinner tonight." He relaxed slightly, but not completely. "Right, dinner. Well, get dressed. And Lily?" He paused. "Some things are better left unquestioned." After he left, I walked to my window, watching him hurry to his car. That's when I noticed the envelope falling from his pocket. He didn't see it flutter to the ground. 20 minutes later, that envelope was in my hands, and its contents made my blood run cold. It wasn't just about my trust fund anymore. The web of lies and secrets went deeper than I'd imagined. I unclasped the fake Cartier bracelet and placed it on my desk. Mother's voice echoed in my head. "Everything we do is for your benefit." Well, maybe it was time to show them exactly what I'd learned from their example. Mr. Howard had been teaching me about contract law, about the intricate dance of power and control hidden in legal language. Tomorrow, I'd show him what I'd found, and together we'd start planning. My phone buzzed again, Charlie this time. "Mom says you're being difficult. Don't ruin dinner tonight with your drama." I texted back, "Wouldn't dream of it, sis." Opening my closet, I pushed past the blue Chanel my mother wanted me to wear and pulled out a simple black dress instead. Tonight, I'd play the dutiful daughter one last time, but starting tomorrow, the real game would begin. Because what my family had forgotten was that I wasn't just their puppet anymore. I was a law student who'd learned from the best about how to use the system, and I had nothing left to lose. Well, nothing except this fake bracelet. Contract law isn't just about signatures and clauses, Mr. Howard said, tapping his finger on the document I'd brought him. It's about understanding human nature. People will sign anything if they think they're getting what they want. I leaned forward in his office chair, studying the papers spread across his desk. Even if what they want is built on lies? Especially then. He adjusted his reading glasses, examining the envelope I'd found. These dealings your father's involved in, they're questionable at best, illegal at worst. Can we use this? I asked. Mr. Howard's eyes met mine. Carefully, Lily. Very carefully. The moment you play this card, there's no going back. A knock interrupted us. Marshall, our family lawyer, stepped in. I tensed, but Mr. Howard smiled. Right on time, Marshall. Close the door, please. I turned to Mr. Howard, confused. You called him? Marshall here has been keeping tabs on your family's financial movements for years, Mr. Howard explained. He's got quite the story to tell. Marshall sat down, his usual polished demeanor slightly ruffled. Your father's been moving money through shell companies. The Harveys are involved, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Aren't you supposed to be loyal to them? I'm loyal to the law, Marshall replied, pulling out a USB drive. And to your grandmother's wishes. She made me promise to protect your interests. That evening, I sat at our dining table, watching my mother fuss over place settings, while my father paced near the window, phone pressed to his ear. The Harveys will be here any minute, Mother hissed at him. Get off that phone. He waved her away, his face pale. Listen, we need to move those funds now. Yes, tonight. Charlie swept in, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my semester's tuition. Mom, the caterers forgot the caviar. What? Mother's face contorted. I specifically ordered the Russian variety. Philip loves it. I suppressed a smile, remembering Marshall's words about the Harvey family's imminent bankruptcy. They were as fake as we were. The doorbell rang. Showtime. Lily, darling! Philip's mother air-kissed my cheeks. Still buried in those law books? Actually, I smiled, I'm specializing in financial law now. Fascinating stuff. Philip's father coughed uncomfortably. My father's hand tightened around his whiskey glass. Dinner was a masterclass in upper-class tension. Mother prattled about Charlie's latest audition while Mrs. Harvey complimented the missing caviar. I watched my father and Mr. Harvey exchange meaningful glances between courses. So, Philip, Mother cooed, tell us about your new venture. Philip launched into a rehearsed speech about cryptocurrency and sustainable energy. I noticed my father's subtle headshake. Sounds risky, I commented innocently, especially with the new SEC regulations on digital assets. The table fell silent. Philip's fork clattered against his plate. You follow financial regulations? Mr. Harvey asked, trying to sound casual. Oh yes, I smiled. Mr. Howard, my professor, says they're crucial for understanding modern business practices. He's actually consulting with the SEC now. My father stood abruptly. Shall we move to the living room for drinks? Later that night, after the Harveys left, I heard my parents arguing in their room. She knows something, Father's voice carried through the door. Don't be ridiculous, Mother snapped. She's just showing off. Besides, we have bigger problems. The bank called about the mortgage. I told you we shouldn't have touched her trust fund. If this gets out... If what gets out? I asked, pushing open their door. They froze. Mother recovered first. Nothing, darling. Adult concerns. Really? I pulled out my phone, showing them the banking app. Because I just got an interesting alert about attempts to access my personal account. Father stepped forward. Lily, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I met his gaze. You're desperate. The Harveys are broke. Your investments are failing. And now you're trying to drain what little I have left. How dare you? Mother advanced on me. After everything we've done for you. You mean everything you've done with my money? I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom? That Cartier bracelet you gave me? The fake one? I had it appraised today. Interesting story about where it came from. I closed their door on their stunned faces, my heart pounding. In my room, I opened my laptop and typed a message to Mr. Howard. They took the bait. What's next? His reply came quickly. Tomorrow, we start phase 2. Sleep well, Lily. You'll need it. I touched the empty spot on my wrist where the bracelet used to be. Phase 2 would hurt. But then again, that was the point. The key I found in Mother's drawer was small and antique, the kind that might open an old jewelry box. But when I showed it to Marshall, his face went white. "Where did you get this?" he asked, turning it over in his hands. "Hidden in a false bottom of her vanity drawer. Why?" Marshall pulled out an old file from his briefcase. "Because this key opens a safety deposit box at First National. Your grandmother's safety deposit box." We sat in his downtown office, the morning sun casting long shadows across his desk. He spread out several documents pointing to signatures and dates. "Your mother told the bank this box was empty after your grandmother died. Had it cleared out." He tapped the key. "But this is the original key, and according to bank records, the box is still active. What's in it? Only one way to find out." An hour later, we stood in the bank's vault room. The manager, an older woman named Rita, examined our paperwork. "Everything seems in order," she said, inserting her master key alongside mine. "As Ms. Mack's legal representative and heir, you have full access." The box was larger than I expected. Inside, we found stacks of letters, legal documents, and a sealed envelope addressed to me. "Read it," Marshall urged. My hands shook as I opened it. "My dearest Lily, if you're reading this, then my suspicions about your mother were correct. The documents in this box prove that she and your father have been embezzling from the family company for years. They didn't just steal your inheritance. They stole from everyone, including my sister Angela. There's a trust in your name they don't know about. Marshall has the details. Be smarter than I was. Love, grandmother." "Angela?" I looked at Marshall. "My aunt? Mother told me she died years ago." Marshall shook his head. "Very much alive, living in Seattle. Your mother forced her out of the company through fraud, then spread lies about her having a mental breakdown." My phone buzzed. "Charlie." "Where are you? Mom's freaking out about some missing key." "Let her freak out," I muttered, then turned to Marshall. "What's our next move?" "First, we document everything here. Then I think it's time you met your aunt." Back home, Mother was tearing through her room like a hurricane. "Where have you been?" she demanded when she saw me. "Have you seen a small silver key?" "No," I lied smoothly. "Lost something important?" She grabbed my arm. "Don't play games with me, Lily. If you took it, take your hands off me." My voice was ice. "And maybe explain why you told me Aunt Angela was dead." She released me as if burned. "Who told you about her? Does it matter? What matters is you lied. Again." "I protected you," she hissed. "Angela was unstable, dangerous. Dangerous to your schemes, maybe." I pulled out my phone, showing her a photo of one of grandmother's documents. "Like this contract you forged? The one that stole her shares?" The blood drained from her face. "Where did you get that?" "I learned from the best, Mother. You taught me how to take what I want." "Your father will hear about this." "Good," I smiled. "Tell him I found grandmother's safety deposit box, too. I'm sure he'll be thrilled." I left her standing there, hands shaking. In my room, I called the number Marshall had given me. "Hello?" A warm voice answered. "Aunt Angela, this is Lily." Silence then. I've waited so long for this call. "I know what Mother did to you," I said. "I have proof." "Lily," she said softly, "are you sure you want to do this? Once you start, they stole everything from you, from me, from grandmother." "Yes," she sighed, "they did. Then help me make it right." We talked for an hour, planning. When we hung up, I had another message from Mr. Howard. "Documents are ready. Tomorrow we move on your parents' accounts." I walked to my window, watching Mother's car speed out of the driveway. She was probably running to Father, planning their next move, but for the first time I was steps ahead of them. My laptop pinged, an email from Marshall with the trust documents grandmother had mentioned. The amount made me gasp. All this time, there had been a safety net I never knew about. Charlie barged in without knocking. What did you say to Mom? She's completely lost it. Truth hurts, doesn't it? She narrowed her eyes. What's that supposed to mean? Ask her about Aunt Angela, I suggested. Ask her where your fancy apartment's money really came from. You're just jealous, she snapped, but I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. No, Charlie, I'm just awake. After she left, I opened my safe and added the key to my growing collection of evidence. Tomorrow, we'd start freezing accounts and filing injunctions. But tonight, I had one more call to make. Mr. Harvey, it's Lily. We need to talk about my father's investments. I think you'll find what I have to say very interesting. The game was changing, and this time, I was dealing the cards. The coffee shop was busy, but I spotted Aunt Angela immediately. She had grandmother's eyes, sharp, intelligent, and kind. When she hugged me, I caught the faint scent of jasmine, just like in my childhood memories. You look so much like her, Angela said, sitting down. Your grandmother would be proud. Would she? I'm about to destroy her daughter's life. Your mother destroyed her own life. Angela stirred her coffee. And mine, and nearly yours. I pulled out the documents Marshall had prepared. Tell me what really happened. Your mother was always jealous of my relationship with your grandmother. When the company started struggling, she saw her chance. Angela's hands trembled slightly. She forged my signature, claimed I was having mental issues. By the time I realized what was happening, she'd convinced everyone I was unstable. And father? Brian was weak, still is. He knew what she did but chose to look the other way. She reached into her bag. I kept everything, every threatening letter, every forged document. My phone buzzed. Mother calling. I declined it. They're panicking, I said. Mr. Harvey called them this morning about pulling out of their deals. Good, Angela smiled grimly. How's Charlie taking it? She's confused, angry. Yesterday she found out her trust fund is frozen. And the contracts? I pulled out more papers. Ready. Mother's been signing documents without reading them for weeks, too busy planning her charity gala. The annual Mack Family Foundation event? Angela laughed. The irony. It's tomorrow night. Everyone will be there. The board members, the Harveys, all their society friends. I showed her the guest list. The perfect audience. My phone buzzed again. Charlie this time. We need to talk. Now. Go, Angela said. Remember, you don't have to do this alone anymore. I found Charlie waiting in my room, clutching her laptop. What the hell is this? She turned the screen toward me, showing a bank statement. My accounts are frozen. Ask Mother about it. I did. She's hysterical, saying you're trying to ruin us. She grabbed my arm. What are you doing, Lily? Getting back what's mine, what's ours if you'd open your eyes. By destroying our family? They destroyed it first. I sat beside her. Did you know we have an aunt living in Seattle? What? No. Mom said all our relatives are dead. Yeah, that's what she told me too. I showed her the photos from my meeting with Angela. Mother stole her shares, her reputation, everything. Charlie stared at the photos, at Angela's familiar features. But why? The same reason she stole my inheritance, and probably yours too. I pulled out more documents. Look at these. Really look. She read silently, her face growing paler. These numbers. This can't be right. It is. They've been stealing for years, from everyone. The apartment in Manhattan was bought with stolen money, just like everything else. She stood up, pacing. What do we do? We? Yesterday you called me jealous. I was wrong, okay? Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, just tell me what to do. I handed her a contract. Sign this. It gives control of your assets back to you, not them. They'll be furious. They're already furious, but tomorrow night at the gala, they'll be destroyed. My phone buzzed. Marshall. Papers filed, accounts secured, ready for tomorrow. Charlie read the message over my shoulder. You're really doing this? Yes. Are you with me? She took a deep breath and signed the contract. What about the gala? Wear something black, I smiled. It's going to be a funeral for their reputation. Later that night, I heard Mother on the phone, her voice shrill with panic. The caterers won't accept our cards. What do you mean our accounts are frozen? Fix this, Brian. Father's heavy footsteps passed my door. Lily, we need to talk. I opened the door. He looked older, defeated. About what, Dad? The money you stole? Aunt Angela? Or the Harveys pulling out? You don't understand the pressure we were under. Save it for tomorrow night. Everyone will be there to hear your explanations. Please, he whispered. Don't do this. Like you didn't do this to Aunt Angela? To grandmother? To me? He reached for me, but I stepped back. I'm your father. No, I said quietly. You're just the man who helped steal my future. Now get out. After he left, I called Mr. Howard. Everything's ready. Charlie signed. Good. Marshall has the injunctions prepared. The board members are already asking questions. And the press? We'll be there, thanks to an anonymous tip about financial irregularities at the Mack Family Foundation. I hung up and looked at my reflection. Tomorrow I'd wear grandmother's pearls. The real ones, not the fakes Mother had given me. It seemed fitting. My phone lit up one last time. Angela. Remember, justice doesn't have to mean cruelty. I touched the pearls at my throat. Tomorrow would be about justice, yes. But mercy? That remained to be seen. The gala buzzed with nervous energy. Mother fluttered around the grand ballroom like a trapped butterfly, her smile growing more strained with each declined credit card and whispered conversation. Father stood by the bar, downing his third scotch, while Mr. Harvey avoided his desperate glances. Quite a turnout, Marshall murmured, appearing beside me. The board members are in position. I nodded, watching Charlie work the room in her black dress. She was doing her part perfectly, dropping subtle hints about financial concerns to all the right people. Your mother's looking for you, he added. She's figured out something's happening tonight. Let her look. I smoothed my grandmother's pearls. Is Angela ready? In the lobby. She'll enter when you give the signal. Mother spotted me then, cutting through the crowd like a shark. Lily, where have you been? The Harveys are acting strange, and the caterers are demanding payment up front. Maybe because our accounts are frozen, I suggested innocently. Her perfectly made-up face paled. What did you do? Nothing yet, but it's coming. I gestured to the gathering crowd. You might want to prepare yourself. You ungrateful little... She grabbed my arm, but I pulled away. Don't make a scene, Mother. You've got enough problems tonight. Philip Harvey approached, his usual arrogance replaced by barely concealed panic. Mrs. Mack, we need to discuss the investment situation immediately. Not now, Philip, she hissed. Yes, now, his voice cracked. The SEC is asking questions about all of us. I left them arguing and found Charlie by the champagne table. How's it going? Mrs. Peterson from the board nearly fainted when I mentioned the audit. Charlie sipped her drink. Dad's lawyer just arrived. He looks terrified. Good. I checked my phone. A message from Mr. Howard. Press is outside. Ready when you are. Mother clinked her glass for attention, her voice artificially bright. Welcome, everyone. The Mack Family Foundation is so proud. Actually, I cut in, stepping onto the small stage. I think it's time for a different speech. The room fell silent. Father started forward, but Marshall blocked his path. For years, I continued, this foundation has represented wealth, privilege, and charitable giving, but it was built on lies. I nodded to Marshall, who began distributing folders to the board members. What you're receiving are copies of bank statements, forged documents, and proof of systematic fraud orchestrated by my parents. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mother lunged for the stage, but Charlie caught her arm. Let her speak, Charlie said firmly. They stole my inheritance, I announced. They stole from the company, and they stole from someone else, someone they told everyone was dead. The ballroom doors opened. Angela walked in, head high. Oh my God, someone whispered. That's Angela. Mother's face went from white to gray. Father dropped his scotch glass. Hello, Malia, Angela said clearly. It's been a while. The room erupted in chaos. Board members flipped through documents, whispering furiously. The Harveys tried to slip out, but security blocked the exits. "This is ridiculous," Mother shouted. "She's mentally unstable." "No, Malia," Mr. Howard stepped forward. "The SEC has confirmed every document. Your fraud is exposed." "Brian?" Mother turned to Father. "Do something." But Father just stood there, shoulders slumped. "It's over, Malia." "The police are outside," I announced, along with reporters. "The board has already voted to freeze all foundation assets pending investigation." Philip Harvey suddenly bolted for a side door. 2 security guards caught him as he ran. "The Harveys' involvement has also been documented," Marshall added. "No one's escaping this." Mother collapsed into a chair, her perfect world crumbling. Charlie walked to the stage and stood beside me. "We trusted you," Charlie said to our parents. "You betrayed everyone in this room." The next hour was a blur of police statements, reporter questions, and shocked conversations. I watched as Mother and Father were escorted out, as board members huddled with lawyers, as years of lies unraveled in a single evening. Angela found me on the balcony afterward. "You did well." "Did I?" I looked at the chaos below. "It doesn't feel like a victory." "It's justice," she said softly. "Sometimes that hurts more than revenge." My phone buzzed, a text from Father. "I'm sorry for everything." Charlie joined us, her makeup smeared from crying. "The police want more statements tomorrow, and the press won't leave." "Let them stay," I said. "No more hiding the truth." We stood together, 3 women bound by more than blood, watching as the foundation's sign was taken down from the building's facade. "What happens now?" Charlie asked. "Now," Angela smiled, "we rebuild. The right way." I touched my grandmother's pearls one last time before unclasping them. The weight lifted from my neck, but a different weight settled in my chest. This was just the beginning. "Come on," I said to them both. "We have work to do." Behind us, the ballroom lights dimmed on empty champagne glasses and scattered documents. The remains of a dynasty built on lies, finally exposed to the truth. The morning after the gala, I found Father sitting alone in our kitchen, staring at a cup of cold coffee. He looked smaller somehow, his designer suit replaced by an old sweater. "The police took your mother to the station an hour ago," he said without looking up. "She's being charged with fraud." "And you?" "My lawyer negotiated a deal. I'm cooperating fully." He finally met my eyes. "I deserve whatever's coming." I poured myself coffee, the familiar routine feeling strange in our changed world. "Why did you do it? Was money really worth destroying everyone?" "It started small," he sighed. "A little creative accounting here, a shifted investment there. Your mother, she always wanted more, and I was too weak to stop her." The doorbell rang. Marshall entered with a stack of papers, nodding to us both. "The press is camped outside. We should discuss damage control." "I'll get Charlie," I said, but Father's voice stopped me. "Wait, there's something you need to see first." He led us to his study, unlocking a hidden safe behind a painting. Inside was a worn leather journal. "Your grandmother's," he explained. "She knew what we were doing. She tried to stop us, to protect you girls." His hands shook. "The night she died, she made me promise to give this to you when the truth came out." I took the journal, its pages filled with grandmother's elegant handwriting. Dates, transactions, warnings. She'd documented everything. "She died thinking I'd keep my promise," Father whispered. "Instead, I helped your mother hide it all." Marshall cleared his throat. "The board's meeting today. They're voting to dissolve the foundation." "Good," I said. "Let it burn." My phone buzzed. "Angela, turn on the news." The TV showed Mother being led into court, her designer outfit replaced by something plain and dark. Reporters swarmed the steps, shouting questions. "The SEC is investigating the Harveys, too," Marshall added. "Philip's father had a heart attack this morning." Something twisted in my stomach. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? Justice? Charlie appeared, her face drawn. "Mom's asking to see us." "No," I said immediately. "Lily," Father touched my arm, "you want something bigger than revenge. Maybe now it's time for what? Forgiveness?" I pulled away. "She stole our future, destroyed Angela's life, betrayed grandmother. And she'll pay for that, Marshall interrupted. But your father's right. Don't let this consume you like it consumed her. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Mr. Howard, looking grave. The media's requesting interviews, and the university board wants to speak with you. About what? Your scholarship. Given the publicity, they're concerned about association. They can't take that from me, I snapped. I earned it. We'll fight it, he assured me. But you need to decide what kind of story you want to tell. Revenge doesn't look good on college applications. I sank into Father's chair, suddenly exhausted. The journal lay heavy in my lap. There's something else, Father said quietly. Your mother. She's not well. The doctors at the holding facility. Don't, I warned. She had a breakdown, Lily. She's asking for help. Charlie sat beside me. I'm going to see her. Come with me? Why should I? Because we're better than them, she said simply. Isn't that the point? I opened Grandmother's journal, finding the last entry. My dearest Lily, remember that the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemies, but in refusing to become them. My phone buzzed again. Angela. Want company at the hospital? I looked around the study. Father, broken but honest at last. Charlie, stronger than I'd ever given her credit for. Marshall and Mr. Howard, who'd helped me fight fair instead of dirty. Okay, I said finally, but first I need to do something. I called the university board, scheduling a meeting. Then I called the press. You're going public? Marshall asked. Yes, but not with a revenge story. I held up the journal. With her story, Grandmother's truth. Father smiled for the first time in days. She'd like that. The foundation's finished, I continued. But maybe we can build something new, something honest. Together? Charlie asked. Together. Later, standing in the hospital parking lot with Angela and Charlie, I thought about Mother waiting inside, about choices and consequences, about becoming the person Grandmother believed I could be. Ready? Angela squeezed my hand. No, I wasn't ready. But I was something better. I was choosing to be stronger than my anger. Yes, I said. Let's go. Behind us, the sun set on the wreckage of our old life. But ahead, through the hospital doors, lay the harder path, the path of healing, of rebuilding, of becoming something more than our parents' mistakes. It wasn't the victory I'd planned. It was better. Mother sat in the hospital's visiting room, her designer clothes replaced by plain white cotton. Without her makeup and perfectly styled hair, she looked older, smaller, almost human. My girls, she whispered as Charlie and I entered. You came. Don't, I said when she tried to stand. Just don't. Angela waited outside, giving us privacy. The guard by the door kept his eyes fixed straight ahead. They're saying I'm unstable, Mother said, her hands fidgeting with her sleeve. But I did it all for us, for our family. Stop lying, Charlie snapped. Even now you're still lying. Mother's face crumpled. I don't know how to be any other way. Try the truth, I suggested. Just once. She looked between us, then at her hands. I was afraid, she whispered, of being poor, of losing status, of being nothing, like my own mother. So you stole from everyone? Destroyed Angela's life? Angela was everything I couldn't be. Grandmother's favorite, smart, genuine. Her voice cracked. I hated her for it. The door opened and Marshall entered with a thick folder. The prosecutors are here. They need your decision about the plea deal. Mother's eyes darted to the folder. How long? 5 years minimum, plus restitution. Marshall laid out the papers. You'll lose everything. I already have. She looked at us. Haven't I? Before I could respond, Father appeared in the doorway. He'd brought Grandmother's journal. The board voted, he announced. The foundation's officially dissolved, but they're offering Lily and Charlie positions on the new oversight committee. New committee? Mother asked. We're rebuilding, I explained, but with transparency this time. Angela's helping. Angela? Mother's hand trembled. She's here? Yes, Angela said, stepping into the room. Hello, sister. Mother started crying then, real tears, not the theatrical ones she'd used for manipulation all our lives. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. Save it, Angela said firmly. Your apologies mean nothing without action. Marshall cleared his throat. The plea deal includes mandatory therapy and full disclosure of all financial dealings. Including grandmother's death? I asked sharply. The room went still. Mother's sobs stopped. What about her death? Charlie asked. Father opened the journal. She knew, didn't she? He asked Mother. About the embezzlement. She was going to expose everything. She had a heart attack, Mother whispered. After you threatened her, I said, pulling out a letter from my bag. I found this in the safety deposit box, her last written words, saying she was afraid of you. Mother closed her eyes. I never touched her. But you caused it, Angela said. The stress, the fear, the betrayal. Add it to the plea deal, I told Marshall. Full confession about everything, or we go to trial. You'd do that? Mother asked. Send me to prison for longer? You sent yourself there, Charlie replied. We're just making sure you face it all. Father stepped forward with a pen. Sign it, Malia. Give them this at least. Mother's hand shook as she took the pen. Will you visit me? That depends, I said, on whether you actually change. She signed the papers. Marshall gathered them quickly, nodding to the prosecutors waiting outside. The press conference is in an hour, he reminded me. Are you ready? I touched grandmother's pearls, which I'd put on for strength. Yes. What will you tell them? Mother asked. The truth, all of it. How you stole from your family, betrayed your sister, drove your mother to her death. How greed destroyed everything. And then? And then we rebuild, without you. The guard stepped forward, indicating time was up. Mother stood, suddenly looking desperate. I do love you, she said. Both of you, in my way. Your way wasn't love, Charlie replied. It was possession. We left her there, crying in her white cotton clothes. Outside, Angela hugged us both. You did well, she said. Your grandmother would be proud. Father joined us, looking tired but relieved. The prosecutors say it's a solid deal. She'll serve her time. And you? I asked. Community service, financial penalties, I'll lose my license. He shrugged. It's fair. My phone buzzed. Mr. Howard. Press is gathering. Time to tell your story. We walked together toward the hospital exit, past the reporters already assembling. Through the window, I caught one last glimpse of Mother being led away by guards. Ready? Angela asked, straightening my collar. I thought about grandmother's words in her journal. The truth isn't always pretty, but it's always powerful. Yes, I said. I'm ready to tell the truth. Behind us, Mother disappeared into the hospital's depths. Ahead, cameras flashed and reporters called my name. But for the first time since this all began, I felt light, free. The truth was waiting, and so was our future. The morning sun streamed through grandmother's study window as I cleared the last of the boxes. Her journal lay open on the desk, its pages now familiar companions. Found something interesting, Charlie called from the doorway, holding up a dusty photo album. Look at this. The photos showed Mother and Angela as young girls, smiling and hugging, before greed poisoned everything. Hard to believe they were ever that close, I said, just as Angela walked in. We were inseparable once, she sighed, taking the album, until money became more important than family. The doorbell rang. Marshall arrived with the final paperwork for the new foundation. The board approved everything, he announced, spreading documents across grandmother's desk. The restoration project is officially ready to launch. She would have loved that name, Angela smiled. Restoring more than just money. Father appeared with coffee for everyone. He looked healthier now, the guilt and secrets no longer weighing him down. The first grants go out next week, he said. All to families affected by financial fraud. The press is calling it revolutionary. Speaking of press, Charlie held up her phone. Mother's interview is airing. We gathered around the screen, watching Mother in her prison uniform. She looked different, humbled, maybe even genuine. I destroyed my family for status, she said on screen. I lost everything that actually mattered. Do you believe her? Charlie asked softly. Time will tell, Angela replied. Change is possible, but it has to be earned. My phone buzzed. Mr. Howard. University board meeting in an hour. Big announcement. Go, Angela urged. We'll finish here. At the university, Mr. Howard met me outside the boardroom. Ready to make history? Inside, the board members sat expectantly. The chairman stood. Ms. Lilly, he began, your story has inspired changes in how we handle financial aid and scholarship protection. We'd like you to head our new Student Financial Rights Committee. I thought of all the students like me, vulnerable to financial manipulation. Yes, I'll do it. Back at grandmother's house, I found Charlie and Angela in the garden, planting roses, grandmother's favorites. How'd it go? Charlie asked. We're expanding the mission, I said. The foundation will partner with the university. We're creating safeguards for student inheritances. Perfect, Angela nodded. Protection and education together. Father called us inside. Marshall had more news. The Harveys are cooperating, he reported. Their testimony exposed 3 more fraud rings. The SEC is calling it a domino effect. And Mother? I asked. Starting therapy, actually participating. He hesitated. She asked to contribute to the foundation's mission, wants to share her story as a warning to others. I touched grandmother's pearls. Let her earn it first. The doorbell rang again. This time it was a delivery, a package from Mother's prison. Inside was her old Cartier bracelet, the real one, with a note. I kept the real one for myself and gave you a fake. It's time to make that right. The first of many wrongs to correct. Mom. Well, Charlie said, it's a start. We spent the rest of the day planning the foundation's launch. Angela's legal expertise, Father's business connections, Charlie's social media skills, everyone contributing to build something honest. As sunset painted the study golden, I sat at grandmother's desk, feeling her presence. We did it, I whispered, touching her journal. We restored what matters. Not just restored, Angela said, overhearing. We built something stronger. My phone lit up with a message from the prison chaplain. Your mother attended her first reconciliation meeting. She talked about you, about pride and regret, about hope. Hope. Not revenge, not victory, but hope. For change, for healing, for second chances earned through hard work and truth. The roses are blooming, Charlie called from the garden. Come see. We gathered outside, watching the sunset paint grandmother's roses gold. The thorns were still there, but so was the beauty, like our family, scarred but healing, complicated but real. To grandmother, Angela raised her coffee cup. Who taught us that the greatest inheritance isn't money? To truth, Father added. To restoration, Charlie smiled. I looked at my family. Broken, rebuilt, stronger. At the house where secrets once festered, now filled with light and honesty. At grandmother's roses, thorny but blooming. To real love, I said. The kind that's earned, not bought. The setting sun warmed my face as I added Mother's bracelet to grandmother's jewelry box. Inside, the fake one lay discarded, a reminder of who we were. But the real one shone beside grandmother's pearls, a symbol of who we could become. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And that was the greatest restoration of all.